Hi, we live in an era where brands matter. We live in an era where consumers pay for brands that they love, they're passionate about. There are more and more brands being launched in every category. You take the beauty category, every week, one differentiated beauty brand gets launched. Product, they become brands, they become businesses, but a product gets launched. But having said that, many businesses fail because the consumers don't buy the brand. So, what makes a product into a brand? What makes it into a brand that creates a business? Today, we are talking to an expert who spent almost 5 decades, almost five, not five, but almost 5 decades in the business of creating and building brands, who's created knowledge, case studies, written books, led companies, been on the board of large companies, post his active role in advertising and marketing services. We're talking of none other than Mr. Ambi Parameswaran. Today we are talking to Mr. Ambi Parameswaran, and the context is his latest book, Marketing Mixology, 4 essential ingredients for marketing success. So let me welcome Mr. Parameswaran to this conversation. Everybody calls him Ambi, so I'll take his permission to
Please.
call him Ambi. He's
Yeah. So,
yes.
thank you. Thanks, Anurag, for inviting me to be on your show. It's always a pleasure to meet you, to learn from what is happening from your perspective on media. Has always been very refreshing, and on seen how you built your own organization into a large media conglomerate today. So, congratulations to you for
Mr.
having understood your target audience, having built your business by understanding your consumers, understanding your customers, and catering, tailoring products to suit their needs. So, congratulations. Thank you for having me here. I'd love to talk about my book or whatever else you want me to talk about.
See, Mr. Parameswaran is very kind. I met him almost 23, 24 years back when I started Exchange for Media. And he was a tall figure then, he's a tall figure now. He's kept himself contextual by writing books, putting his knowledge into context, and staying relevant by doing teaching, training, and the pursuit of knowledge. Ultimately, that's what builds businesses, knowledge and insights. So, Mr. Parameswaran, how did this book Marketing Mixology come about? Give us that story.
Okay, so there's a bit of a backstory to this, right? One, uh, the quirky title, Mixology. Um, you could say, why is it not called basic marketing, right? So the story has a bit of a backstory. About 5 years ago, Amazon Prime wanted a few authors to write a exclusive piece for them. So my literary agent and my publisher contacted me, and we tossed around a few ideas, and finally I wrote a piece on negotiation, which came on Kindle. It was only a Kindle version, 10,000 words, available to Amazon Prime subscribers. And they had contacted a few others, like Devdutt Patnaik. A few others had also written those exclusive pieces. The next year, since that did very well, it was kind of topping the charts and all that. Next year, again, they came back and said, can you write something? So I wrote a piece on uh, branding called, the magic potion, the brand. That also did well. But the deal was, after a year, the rights for those two mini books came back to me. And so my literary agent, Anish Chandy and Kartika Westland, they said, look, you have two nice little books. Why don't you add some more and put it together as a small book, which we can tailor it as simple marketing or something like that. So I wrote a fresh piece on understanding consumers. Then I wrote another fresh piece on communication. And then a new editor, Arodip, arrived, and he said, now these four are not sitting together. So I had to rewrite. I had to rewrite all the four pieces had to be rewritten to put it together in a particular framework. Once that was done, I said, look, this is not a typical marketing book. Most typical marketing books will have a chapter on uh, consumers, a chapter on branding. But no marketing book you will find will have a chapter on negotiation. And no marketing book will have a chapter on communication, which is how to write a better letter, how to speak better, how to do one on one communication better. So I said, therefore, I need a different title. I cannot call this book Basic Marketing. No. So I had a, being spent, like you said, almost 50 years in this, communication business. I said I wanted a quirky title. So I thought of this title, Marketing Masala Mix. And I wanted a book cover which looked like a masala box, like MDH masala box. But my publisher felt it was too gimmicky for a person of my quote unquote branding. So then I said, look, I needed another title, and I don't want a simple title like Get Set Market or Get Marketing Right or stuff like that. It's not too boring. So I started, that was the time about a year ago when I learned how to use ChatGPT. I started asking, I learned the term prompt engineering, and I started prompting ChatGPT, and I started getting suggestions for titles. And in one of those title suggestions, ChatGPT gave me the word mixology. The mixology was not something in my mind. It came from ChatGPT. When that came, I said, okay, now I have my title. I said, marketing mixology it is. And I said, if it is marketing mixology, then there are 4 ingredients. We should have each ingredient in a bottle. So I got ChatGPT to kind of design a rough cover, which was rough. So then that was used, and my publisher liked the idea, and then that got, that finally became the book. So it's basic marketing, but it's got, I mean, people who've read it said, look, even better, people are very senior people who've read the book say that, look, the negotiation chapter was a new thing for them. So it's an interesting mix of different ingredients, which is what a mixologist does to make your drink interesting. I mean, you remember it from your drinking days. I remember it from my drinking days. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, what are these four basic pillars? One is understanding consumer behavior. Second is brand building. Third, as you said, is unique about this book is negotiation.
Yeah.
And fourth is communication. We are in the era of personal branding. More and more founders are synonymous with their businesses and brands. So tell us about these four chapters and give us a peek into each chapter.
Okay, so understanding consumer is about, when I work with some of these startup entrepreneurs and I ask them, do you know your consumer? They say, yeah, we know your consumer because, they go through some kind of a dashboard and say, I said, no, have you gone and met your consumer? And many of them have never met their consumer. So the first pillar is if you're selling anything, whether you're selling a media product like the way you're selling, or whether you're selling a energy bar, or you're selling masala, or you're selling a software solution, who's your consumer? Who's your customer? Have you met them? Have you understood them? Have you invested in market research? Are you analyzing the people in, many FMCG companies spend 8% of their top line on advertising, but how much are you spending on market research? And they balk at spending 1%. But that 1% will make that 10% work better. So that's the first chapter, which is on uh, understanding consumers. Second one is on brand building, where brand building, I've described a 5-step process for building a brand, which is brand appraisal, brand definition, brand articulation, brand measurement, and brand expansion. Every brand, whether it's an old brand or young brand, it makes sense to put it through this prism to understand where you are. The third chapter, which is on negotiation, is about basic negotiation. I mean, how do you negotiate? So I think the John F. Kennedy who said, never be afraid to negotiate, right? And in that chapter, there are some interesting little anecdotes, which, if you permit me, I can
Why not?
tell that little story about Theodore Roosevelt was standing for the president, American president. So his campaign manager found a nice photograph of Theodore Roosevelt taken by a photographer, and he used that photograph and printed 1 million leaflets, million brochures. And someone said, look, you used that photograph. Have you taken permission from the photographer? So the campaign manager said, no. So I said, look, either you take permission from him, which means he knows you printed all this, he's going to charge you money, or you reprint. So reprinting would have cost $2 million. And asking him for permission may also have cost money. But this campaign manager, any political campaign manager, is a very sharp cookie. So he knew that he had some information which the photographer did not have. We call the information asymmetry. He knew that the leaflet had been printed. Photographer didn't. Right. So he sent a telegram to the photographer. He was in some city somewhere in the US saying, look, we want, Theodore Roosevelt's election campaign wants to use a photograph which you've taken. It's a great opportunity for you to build your publicity. How much will you pay us if we use the photograph you had taken? So the photographer, who did not know the leaflet had been printed, sent a telegram back saying, I thank you for the offer. Will $250 be okay? Right? So he would have spent otherwise $2 million. Instead, he got $250 back. So, which is what it's a every situation you can negotiate to a better place. So the whole chapter was about many techniques, tools on how to negotiate better, how to sell better. So that is the third chapter. The fourth chapter is communication. In marketing, you have to learn to write better. You have to learn to present better. You have to learn to do one-on-one communication better. And no marketing book teaches you that. So I've tried to put all that, including how to write. Like, there is this very simple test called the Gunning Fog Index, which I learned once when I was listening to, Shiv, ex-Pepsi, I was doing a workshop there and he came and talked to the participants. Gunning Fog Index says everything you write can be analyzed from the point of view how many years of schooling do you need to understand that. So if what you write requires 8 years of schooling, then most people can understand it. But if what you're writing needs 14 years of schooling, then you need a master's.
What about Shashi Tharoor's writing and speaking?
I think that will be beyond 14 years.
Okay.
So that's he probably will go to the extreme of Gunning Fog Index. But Gunning Fog Index is a nice tool. I've explained how to use it there. So communication is not just marketing communication. I'm saying if you're in marketing,
With your stakeholders.
yeah, you have to communicate to your team. You have to communicate to your trade. You have to communicate to your salespeople. You have to communicate to production. You have to
Investors, these they're
Yeah.
founders of business and brands have to deal with investors.
Yeah, so you have to learn to communicate. So people who have read the book have said, look, the first two chapters very marketing oriented, but the third and the fourth are a little more general, right? So that's the feedback I've been getting. So
Fantastic. We're in an era where in almost every category, new brands are being birthed every week. They're differentiated. I talked about cosmetics, some may be, chemical free, with some differentiation. At the same time, traditional brands are also plateauing in some categories. What's happening in the consumer landscape? What's your reading?
I think, India for many, many years was a very bottom heavy pyramid as a market, right? So what used to sell in consumer products, whether it is foods or cosmetics, used to be the plain vanilla products, 10 rupees per cake of soap. That's it. I mean, that was the bulk of the market. But what has happened over the last maybe 10, 15 years is multiple segments are emerging. So that consumers are coming saying, look, I am willing to pay more, but do you have that in you to give it to me? So I'm an adjunct professor at SPJMR. So one of the student presentation they came with a nice term called there are today skin intellectuals, consumers who know a lot about skin and a lot about particular ingredients. So they say, look, don't tell me all that. Does your product contain 2% retinol? Does it contain 3% collagen? Whatever it is, right? So they want that particular product. So the market is now separating into the plain vanilla products and then the more and more specialized products. And what is interesting is that the younger entrepreneurial companies are able to move fast and innovate. And they're able to do things on the fly. They're willing to launch a product today. If it doesn't work, 3 days later, withdraw, launch another product. They're able to do this dynamic, movement which the big companies are not able to do. As a result, what the big companies are doing, they're doing the smart thing. They're saying, let these people build the business. Once it gets to a particular size, we will acquire it. And then we'll help them grow. So whether it is Yoga Bar, which is a brand which I was associated with for a bit, has been acquired by ITC, and then Minimalist got acquired by
Levers.
Levers for a huge amount of money. Beardo has been acquired by, I think,
Marico.
Marico. So like this will continue, because I think somewhere large companies, because they have their strength, is also their weakness. They have all these complex processes, so they can't do things quickly. I can't, for example, launch a new millet-based energy bar that easily. Someone will ask a question, and some question will come from London. Whereas if I'm a startup, I can think of something, make the packaging, put it out in the market within 1 month. Whereas the same thing in a big company could take 6 months, could take even 2 years, right? So I think that is the job, that young companies will keep innovating. Whether we talked about a coffee company, we talked about, right? Innovative coffee company, innovative candy bars. You go to shops today, you get a variety of new products, right? The consumer is spoiled for choice. Now it's true, maybe 90% of those products and brands will fail, but that's okay. But 10 will succeed, 10 will continue to grow, and then they'll get acquired. Like Max Protein is a brand which got acquired by Zydus, right? So they will get acquired, and they will then grow. Now the question is, will a big company be able to acquire one of these nimble brands, and will they allow that nimble brand to continue to stay nimble? For that, I think the jury is still out. We have to see. Unilever bought that hair brand Indulekha, and they've done a good job with it, honestly. But not all acquisitions end up, going that way. Some of them, they don't know what to do, and they kind of crush the brand, and the brand just goes, right? So we have to wait and watch. But two, three things happening. One, today Indian consumer has changed. There are multiple segments emerging. These segments were there earlier, but they were too small. Like I remember, you also will remember the soap called Aramask, right?
Of course, my favorite soap
It's a great soap, but
from J.K. Helen Curtis.
it used to be Calcutta Chemicals.
Before that.
Yeah, it was Margot and Aramask were owned by the same company.
Okay, I have used Margot also, but from the age of, let's say, 12 till about 25, the only soap I, because the smell and the
But
shape.
absolutely, and if you remember, the cake even had a little sticker on it.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right? So Aramask that time did not succeed because men were not buying soap. Women were buying soap, and that soap was very expensive. So people did not buy
Maybe
it.
we should buy that and relaunch.
I
Time to launch Eramas.
Yeah, I mean, it was a. I mean, we will remember, but the youngsters will wonder what is
Two brands, Old Spice and Eramas.
Old Spice has anyway been revived by P&G, right?
Right.
Into a big brand. Aramask in India was a very highly respected brand, very small brand, not making any money, right? So finally, no one invested money. But today, look at Beardo, look at the Bombay Shaving Company. They're all male products.
Yeah, male grooming has become a big category.
Yeah. So like this, I think multiple categories will emerge. Like look at that. You have a dog, so you're a dog father. Look at the brand called Drool.
Absolutely.
Got acquired by, I think, Nestle, right? So it's emerged, right? All these products are emerging, and more will emerge, and that's good. That's good for our country. It's good for the marketing ecosystem, and it's good for retailers, and it's finally very good for consumers. They're getting a lot of interesting products to try out.
Mr. Parameswaran, you spend a lot of time with brands, brand owners in the role of a custodian, agency, whatever you can call. Uh, the agency business seems to have changed in the last decade or so. Technology, Gen AI, the rise of entrepreneurship in the creative services domain. What is your take of where is the agency business headed?
Well, Anurag, that's $1 million question, right? If you go back to the 70s and 80s and 90s, and even up to say 2015, when I was active in advertising, the senior people in ad agencies had relationship with very senior people in the companies. Like one could pick up the phone, talk to Rajiv Dubey at Tata Motors. He was a director passenger vehicles, or could talk to uh, Puneet Goenka at Z, he's the CEO of Z, right? Or talk to uh, R.S. Sodhi
At Amul.
at Amul, right? So the senior people in the client side and the senior people on the advertising side had a one-on-one relationship.
And they had understanding of the brand over a long
Yes.
period of time.
And to the extent the senior people on the client side used to say, Ambi, you think it'll work? Let's go with it. That's it, right? Now, that relationship, I don't think exists anymore in that way, right? Like if you go back, Shunu Sen and Alec Padamsi, and there is, some of the viewers will may remember a famous advertising for Surf, which used the character Lalita ji. Now, Lalita ji film was a breakthrough film, but the marketing team said this woman is too aggressive. It will make our brand sound very brash. So Shunu Sen was traveling. When he came back, Alec Padamsi picked up the phone and said, Shunu, I want to show this film to you. So he went to Shunu's house. The marketing team was called. He played the film, and then Shunu said, look, I like the idea. Marketing team has a point. Alec, what can you do to fix this? And Alec then added that line, Ravi Beta, in the end, to soften the Lalita's character. And then the film went on to run and became a success. Now, that's because Alec could pick up the phone and tell Shunu Sen, your team is throttling a good idea. Right? So, this relationship.
By the way, Mr. Shunu Sen was in our first inaugural Indian Marketing Awards in 2003, was our lifetime achievement winner. He just passed away in 2002. What a giant. We use the word marketing guru easily or a marketing maverick easily. He was truly a giant.
Oh yeah, I mean, Shunu was a great leader, and he saw the value of allowing the agency head to call him and say, so today, I don't know how many clients have that level relationship with the agencies. I'm sure some of them do. If they don't, I think they are losing out because, for example, in our case, when you take something to a client who trusts you, I need to make sure that I'm 100% right. This will work for the brand. Don't take something which you think may not work. So you put so much burden on the agency makes sure they do a great job. So the clients are losing out, agencies are losing out, and this whole thing about let's call for a pitch is going on, which is a bit of a waste of time and effort for everyone, right? So I think one day light will dawn and people will figure out that,
Also, Ambi, that is, you went to a top-notch school, a college. The quality of talent in communication service has come down because the business model is not being able to hold the remuneration, or there are other avenues for professionals at the entry level, startups, consulting, BFSI, so on and so forth. So that's one. And the other is the shrinking fees, as you talked. Pitches lead to shrinking fees. And now there's Gen You can make videos. You don't have to book a venue. You don't have to fly the very larger than life creative directors to Goa or to Vegas or to LA or,
Oh, yeah.
So is there a solution? Is there a panacea for this? Do you know,
It's a problem up there because I think Gen AI is going to be a kind of a toy everyone is going to play around with. Like I played around and got my title, so I'd be honest, right? But smart clients know that, Gen AI only can get you that far. You still need the human. I mean, we are doing this, right? Why? We could have, got
done this over Zoom? I don't like
you
it.
could have, you could have done some created two avatars to talk to each other, but we're doing it. So there'll be some value in that. Problem is, we are going through a flux. As I was telling someone today, that what will separate us is people who are very competent who know how to use Gen AI, and people are very competent who don't want to use Gen AI. Now, if you're the second category, God bless you, right? It's almost like saying 20 years ago, saying I'm very competent, I'm very good with numbers, I don't believe in using spreadsheet. Now, hello, right? You're not going to go very far in your career if you say that. Today, same thing. I'm very smart. I'm very competent. I don't believe in Gen AI. I don't believe in. That's not going to get you very far. So you've got to be very competent. Got to be very good. You probably have to also know Python. You probably also have to know how to write prompts, how to improve your prompts. So, I mean, at my age, I've got an old student of mine who's head of marketing at a particular company, who's very good at technology. He comes every month and spends 2 hours with me to teach me, how to use, Gen AI tools, because it's we,
Agents and super
we
agents.
better learn how to use Gen AI tools. But will Gen AI replace all marketing communication people? I don't think so. But they will short circuit a lot of iteration which you would otherwise do. For example, as a young account executive, my job in every meeting used to be to take notes and write minutes. Today, I don't need to do that. I need to switch on a tool which will record it, transcribe it, and give it to me. But I have to have the brains to go through that and find out if it has been correctly said.
And some part that you may not want to include in the minute.
Exactly. Then you have to, as you
Use
know,
wisdom. Use your
yeah,
discretion.
it's a fine art writing minutes. You want to put certain things in a certain way, you want to put certain things in a certain other way. So all that only a human can do. Gen AI can't do it today. Maybe it can, but I've seen, I've had, for example, I've had Zoom meetings with an agency I was advising along with their client. Meeting got over and the 2-page minutes came, right, and it was pretty good.
Yeah, it's quite okay. Now, also, what do you do to the business model? Yes, we said the media commission is down to 2.5%. It's become about what price you source media at, creative talent. Is it premium, but clients want to tighten the belts? There are startups who are willing to do it for much lesser, and they are good because entrepreneurship has taken them to start companies. So, is there a solution?
So it's going through flux. Uh,
Is it a good time to buy a media agency or an ad agency if you're a holding company, or a good time to buy a tech company?
I think it's a good time to buy a tech company, right? And probably mash a tech company with an advertising company to create a new model. Today, who's the biggest threat for ad agencies today?
Consulting companies and tech companies.
It's really the McKinsey and the Accenture, right? McKinsey is coming from the context that we know CEOs, right? And Accenture is coming from the context we know technology, and Accenture can create advertising solutions for you. So holding companies globally are now seeing McKinsey, Accenture on one end, at the other end, Meta and Google.
Absolutely.
Meta and Google say, why do you need an ad agency? Come to us directly.
Yeah.
Right?
Out of the 1.1 trillion ADEX, these two companies did almost $460 billion.
Yeah, for almost 50%. Right? And they can tomorrow say, look, Mr. Client, come to us directly. We'll give you a
Yeah,
dashboard.
that's what they're doing. And to SMEs, they're saying you don't need an agency. We'll create everything for you.
Yeah.
We'll put it in programmatic and we'll deliver what you want.
Exactly.
That's already started to happen. So it happened yesterday. It's not like it's not the
It's
future.
happening. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
happening.
it's happening.
Yeah.
Now let me focus. You also understand the media business. You're on the board of the Hindu, and with your experience with content, what's happening to the media business.
So media business undergoing a transition, right? So the young people today are not reading the traditional media. Right? They're not reading the print, the
I,
newspaper.
I would disagree with you. I want to tell you, though Times of India is not a listed company, the EBITDA is almost 1,200 crores. Dainik Bhaskar's profit is close between 360 crores or thereabouts, and I can go on. So
Oh yeah.
print is fully.
No,
And
hold it.
I interviewed for my show. I do a show on dropouts. A 26-year-old who buys more books than me, who buys newspapers, and he reads print. But they're also consuming short form
Yeah,
video.
so I have some understanding of the print medium. Print medium after COVID was given up for dead, right? It will not. They said no, it can come back, but it bounced back, right? After COVID, it really bounced back, and last year has been a good year for print medium. One, because advertising revenues have come back and newsprint prices have come down, right? As you know, in
Yeah,
print,
that's also helped the
yeah,
profitability.
newsprint price, is a big factor in profitability. But the young people today, the average young people, they get their content on their smartphone.
They're screenagers.
Yeah, and they're not reading your thing. Fortunately, the old people are still reading, and hopefully they will continue to read. Now, this whole transition, moving, in India, media has been used to the fact that you make your money from advertising and you subsidize your product to the consumer. Now, that model has to change to the extent you make some money from advertising, you make some money from
Subscription,
subscription.
which has happened with New York Times, Washington Post, both online and offline.
Absolutely. So, in a sense, Hindu has done a better job of, getting their, e-paper and subscription revenue going. Are they there yet? Not yet. But they probably done a better job than many others. But Indian consumers have to get used to paying for content, right? Which is why some of the rules which European Union has brought about, or Australia has brought about, saying, look, can these social media companies use any content they want? There has to be some control. What can Google show? What can Meta show? Can they take an article from one of your publications, put it there? When you put it behind a paywall, right? Which is something which should be discouraged. So all this is happening. Hopefully it will sort out. Consumer will figure out that if you want good quality content, you have to pay. Now, I think this recent problem we had with Pakistan, people have now lost credibility of some media saying, look, I can't believe what I see, and therefore I need to go to someone whom I can trust. And print has come back saying, look, at least print I can trust, right? Whereas what I get on WhatsApp, what I see on TV also, I can't seem to trust. So hopefully it will come back, but it's a moving picture, and media companies will have to figure out what to focus on, how to get the young people back to reading the newspaper, reading the magazine. It'll happen, hopefully, and because we need a strong print media in this country. We need a strong, television medium in this country, right? Which is one thing which separates us. We can't let it go, right? So that's my content, personal point of view.
Absolutely. Now, my last two questions. One, do you see the role of a CMO changing? There is pressure to assimilate the role of a CTO, CIO, CDO. Uh, do you think CMOs will become growth managers? Whatever be to create growth. Brand building is fuzzy. We live in an e-commerce era where you can correlate what you advertised and what was the impact, how many leads, how many conversions. So, how do you see the role of CMO going forward from now?
See, unfortunately, the CMO's role got badly diluted in the last 10, 15 years. Like you said very rightly, the CTO took away something. The chief of research took away something else. The CMO was just left as a kind of a glorified sales and advertising manager. Right? The CMO's job is not that. CMO's job is to understand consumers, create products, and market them. Right? So hopefully they will reclaim some ground. They will have to become more technical. They have to become more innovation oriented. They have to understand the full chain instead of just saying I'll call for an agency pitch and change the campaign. It can't be that. So boards will start asking questions. Okay, what else are you doing, Mr. CMO? You know,
A
you're not.
Miss CMO.
Yeah, or yeah, Miss CMO. No, what else are you doing? That question has to be asked. CMO has to become more technology oriented, has to become more business oriented, and not just be oriented towards cost per click and cost per lead or whatever. Right? Which that has to change, and hopefully it will change.
My last question, Mr. Parameswaran.
I
You
thought
will,
you were going to call me Ambi right now,
yeah,
but
that's okay. I'll call you Ambi. You feel young, but as you approach another year in your life, is there a bucket list that Mr. Parameswaran has?
well, not really. I mean, I'm quite happy doing what I do. I'm saying at this, I'm going to be 70.
Tomorrow?
Yeah. So
Today is 17 June when we are recording it. Tomorrow, when you watch it, hopefully will be his birthday. So wish him.
so I'm going to be 70, and I think I'm fortunate that I'm still needed. You call me on your show, so I'm still. People still read what I write. People still write to me saying they found something interesting in what I said. So when I wrote my book, Nawab Nude Noodle, which was published in the year 26, almost 10 years ago, it was written to for the young generation to get excited about advertising. That I want to go into advertising, and I remember a few people telling me that they interviewed a kid, and she said, I read this book, I want to be in advertising. So I'm doing this in marketing to say, look, marketing is a great fun business to be in. So if I'm sure if some young people read this book and say, look, I want to be in marketing, I don't want to be a coder, right? I'd be that much happy. So I'm trying to give back to the industry whatever little bit I can. So I'm happy that people are still wanting me to come and give talks, come and do workshops. I still teach. I'm a adjunct professor at SPJMR. That's where I'm coming from. I still teach. Um, I love the kind of affection my students show to me, and I keep writing. And thank you for inviting me on your
Plays a
show.
lot
Right? Thank
with
you.
your wisdom, experience, and the fact that you kept yourself relevant by observing, by writing columns, by writing books, by talking to the practitioners. And life is about first principles. In anything, you get the first principles right, you stay relevant. So I think even at your young age, you've got the first principle right. So I'll always look forward to talking to you, having a conversation,
Thank you.
and do pick up Marketing Mixology. It will help you build your brand, build your business, and get it right. Thank you. Thank you, Ambi, for
Thank you.
talking to
Thank you.
us,
Thank you, Anurag, for
and
having me
look
on.
forward to more conversations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.